Monday, February 10th, 2014. Please join Councilmember Loretano in the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We ask that you give this council guidance and support as we decide and make decisions that are important to our community and our citizens. We ask that your special protection for all of those who may be sick or ill at this time. And we ask special provision that you watch out and you look for the men and women serving at home, in our fire and our police, and for our military abroad, and special guidance for their families. With this we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Loretano, and thank you because I know you're not feeling well. You have the same thing that I'm now over, and so I know how difficult it is. And we thank you very much for coming tonight. It's a great sacrifice on your part. So let's go to communications. We have two communication items tonight. The first one is the overview of the 2014 spring training and what is being planned for the season. Ballpark General Manager Bruce Kessman. And Bruce, welcome. Did you all see his picture on the In Focus and done all in the green with the staff sitting behind on the benches? So it looks like you got that staff under control. You had them all benched.
Yeah, for the most part, yep. Yeah, we'll call them in the 9th if we need them.
Yeah, well, good. Well, we welcome you.
Thank you. Mayor Lord and council members, I'm here tonight to kind of give you a rough idea of what's happening here coming up on the 2014 spring training. As you know, that we're in our 6th year of preparation with the Indians, and this will be the 5th year with the Cincinnati Reds. We have a little over, or right about 16 days to go now, and that's until our first game. But tomorrow, the pitchers and catchers report for the Cleveland Indians, so that really kind of signifies day one of baseball. And for those baseball fans out there, tomorrow baseball starts in Goodyear. Over these next few weeks, we're going to be engaging our volunteers, finishing up some staff training, and also putting the final touches on the stadium. Grounds crew's been working really hard on getting that field ready to go, and if you actually look at it now, we're game ready. We're ready to go for opening day. We're also working with the Indians and the Reds to plan some school visits for all the mascots that are going to be available here just prior to the season, get the kids pumped up about coming out and seeing some spring training games. And our plan for this year is just to continue building on the success of what we've had over the last 5 years here. As you can see with through our fan surveys, that we've done very well with the fan experience. One thing that we have been over-engaging with our staff and our volunteers is to continue with the proactive customer service approach. We can't necessarily control what happens on the field, but we can control the fan experience. This is what's going to separate us from the other ballparks out there, and to give that overall great fan experience. This is also why we've been ranked, 2 out of the last 5 years as the best place to watch a spring training game. Our opening weekend festivities, we kick off February 26th, true opening day. Thursday, February 27th, follow that up with a charity game between the Indians and the Reds, which will be benefiting 2 local charities here, the New Life Center and also the Homeless Youth Connection. On that same night, on Thursday, 4 o'clock, Carnival opens. That's going to be hosted by the Homeless Youth Connection as well, and that'll be running through Sunday, so there'll be a lot of activity happening around the ballpark opening weekend. And then Friday, kind of kick off the opening weekend festivities with the Arizona Skyhawks parachute team jumping into the stadium. The Millennium High School Band will be on site to be at the front gates, welcoming some of our fans, also be performing the national anthem. Of course, the face painters and ever-famous balloon artists will be on site to entertain the kids, and we'll also be doing the mayor and council recognition prior to the 1:05 scheduled first pitch. Look forward to seeing all you out there. And then over the weekend, March 1st and 2nd, we'll be doing a fleece blanket giveaway for each of the teams. First 1,500 fans through the gates will either get the Indians or the Reds fleece blanket. Hoping that will definitely help boost some of the ticket sales. And fleece blanket in Arizona, well, it's still cold that time of the year. or cooler, I should say. Some of the promotions and discounts we have slated for this year are the autograph days, the senior strolls were very popular the last few years, and of course, kids run the bases. I mean, what kid doesn't want to run the bases after the big leaguers take the field? Catch on the field, I think that's every kid's dream, play on a big league field. And then one of the things I do really want to highlight here is the military discount that we've actually redesigned for this year. Gave the military, all active duty and retired military will get a free ticket to any one of our games this season as a thank you for their service. We also did bring back the half-price child tickets for the outfield reserve, outfield box, and the berm tickets, which actually went over very well. We've been actually selling quite a few of those early on this year. And, of course, the Senior Saver Pass. I think on a daily basis we get quite a few of those walking up and purchasing those. Going back to the resident offers, I think a lot of those are actually now starting hitting the homes as the in-focus just went out. And actually we're seeing quite a bit of redemption on those this far out from the season. A couple of things I'd like to highlight for the season are obviously the fleece blanket giveaway on March 1st and 2nd. And then on the 14th and 15th, the Superstars. If you've never been out and seen these guys perform, they put on a great show. They basically took over almost the entire in-game production. They performed about 5 half innings. And as you can see up there, there's Bear Bonds, Tim Tebow, Ken Jaffe Jr. And so they also have some funny names to go along with it, but they have a lot of fun antics, and it definitely increases the fan experience that are for those people that are at the game. One of the new things that we're going to be having this year on March 22nd is Fan Fest, which is kind of spearheaded by the Southwest Chamber of Commerce, and they're going to be using that as a fundraiser to help raise funds for the chamber. It'll be after a game. It's a separate ticketed item. It'll include food and also allow people to participate in a lot of on-field and various activities. Basically, all those highlights that we have for the season will be kind of rolled up into one day where the fans can come out and enjoy a fun evening at the ballpark. And, of course, all of our information can be found on our website at goodyearbp.com. It is up to date, and also we've been actually making a big push on the social media sites as well with our Facebook and Twitter. We've actually almost doubled our Twitter followers in the last about 3 weeks or so, and continuing to grow that. So definitely using modern technology to engage our fans. And that's what we've got going for 2014 spring training. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll stay right there. Is anybody, any comments from council? Any comments? Councilman Osborne?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm looking forward to the season.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, we are too. I think the whole team that we're looking in, and the team should be proud of themselves because each year it's gotten better. We have more activities at the park. I mean, we have not gone backwards, even with the downturn. So we're just moving ahead. And so thank you very much, and we're glad to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, we will now receive an update on the recent improvements that have been made to the development services process. Development Service Director Sherry Wakefield signs. Sherry?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me this evening to provide an update on the processes we've been working on our department. As you know, it's been about 18 months since we put our different divisions together: building safety, planning and zoning, code compliance, economic development, fire marshal, and fire plan review as part of the building safety team. We recently hired our deputy director in the department, Hector Tapia, who's here this evening, and we're working on some streamlining of processes that are all intended to make the community more user-friendly from a development process and also from a resident perspective. So it was very clear from the council's direction on the strategic plan this year that the city manager's office was responsible for assisting us in that development process streamlining and ensuring that the implementation of the process improvements made a difference in that development process. And so we wanted to share some of the things that we've been working on. So things that we have implemented to date. The city in the past had Project Docs electronic plan review that was operational in engineering. Over the course of the previous year, we have implemented this also in building safety and in planning. And currently in building safety and planning, we're only doing electronic plan review for tenant improvements, but we'll be rolling that completely out by the end of this fiscal year. So huge improvement from the perspective that now a client can submit their plans fully electronically, and only the final set of documents comes in as paper and is stamped and held on file. In addition to this, I think one of the biggest improvements that we made was the ability to pay by credit card. So in the past, while seemingly small and insignificant, clients had to come in with a check for the specific dollar amount down to the penny that the permit was issued for. In this case, they can use their credit card and pay over the phone, and it's resulting in much quicker turnaround, sometimes reducing their turnaround by days and even weeks. Permits by email. This is a really interesting project that we implemented when we were working on Project Docs, but we weren't ready to wait. So we went ahead and implemented a process where solar permits, water heater permits, patio covers and things could be emailed into our office and approved within a 2-day period. So it reduced the turnarounds from nearly 10 days to 2 days in the improvement in that process, and also significantly reduced, and I mean by about 70%, the walk-in activity for permits across the counter. So very significant change, also very important for our residents who typically are impacted most by this process. Permits by appointment or over-the-counter plan review. We've read a lot about this in the paper over the last couple of years. We've recently gone to this process in the last couple of weeks, and we've done a few plans this way. Very effective process by which an applicant can come in, and these are smaller tenant improvement projects, come in with their plans, with their consultants in tow, sit down, visit, and walk out the door with their permit the same day. Significant improvement again, a reduction potentially of almost 20 working days in their processing and turnaround times. Very significant improvement, and we're hearing good feedback from the development community on this process as well. As we get more comfortable with this and the development community gets more comfortable with our doing this, we hope to be able to increase the size and number of permits that we can accommodate in this way. Informational brochures. So it's critical that we communicate to the development community what we're doing. And one thing that we really sorely were missing was just general information on our process. One thing that I hit with my team over and over is clarity, consistency, and customer. Keep it simple, keep it clear, and when it's consistent, we're saving people time and money. So very important to the process. So we've been working on informational brochures to explain these different processes that are available either online or at the front counter, and we have more to come as we change processes into the future. Importantly, we integrated the fire marshal position into the fire permitting process. So previously, where an applicant had to go from development services across the walkway and over to the fire group and get answers, we now have them integrated into our pre-application and plan review process, again, eliminating days in turnaround, and also gaps in information that might be shared with the client or internal to our development team. The incorporation of the business license process. This was a bit of a risk. We knew that the business license process is near and dear to the small business community, but we thought it was crucial that they be able to do all of this in a one-stop shop. So over the course of the last year, we integrated the business license process into our development services front counter. So previously, where an applicant had to receive a letter, go to City Hall, pay, come down to development services, turn in their paperwork, wait for their permit to get mailed to them. We can do it all now, one-stop shop right at the development services counter. Turn those permits back very quickly. Next steps. So we obviously have a bit of work to do. We can always be refining our processes and getting better at what we do. A most important piece of what we do is our assistance to small businesses I've talked about this evening. And I think an opportunity is to engage with the small business community more closely. And as was dictated again by the Economic Development Strategic Plan, by the Council Strategic Plan and the Mayor's objectives and the Manager's objectives this year, we are developing a small business focused strategy to support new and existing businesses. Components of that include replacing one of our retiring employees, Tina Daniels' position, with that of a small business advocate or ombudsperson. We continue to hope to execute the Small Business Summit in 2014 under this new team. The Shop Goodyear program, which we hope to make a year-long effort with a push at the holidays, but more of an expanded program. Establish and maintain a strategy of programming for the city's business incubator. So as most, if everyone is aware, that we're opening the incubator with the library here in a few days. And that partnership with the Alexandria Group requires some day-to-day maintenance and programming. So that will be the responsibility of the small business advocate. The Business Retention and Expansion Program. While over the years we've had a BRNE program, as they call it, reaching out on an annual basis to targeted industry and finding out what their concerns and issues are, we need to get really focused. And that's a crucial piece of retaining our business in the community and growing the business that's in our community. If we aren't out day in and day out asking what the concerns are and the issues are, they're just going to pick up and move the next time they get an opportunity. So this is one of the most crucial pieces of the responsibility of this position in our department, and we're looking forward to rolling out a business retention and expansion program very robustly this year. Our partnerships with the Southwest Valley Chamber on small business outreach continue, and we're working on additional programming with them for the coming year. So there's some other crucial pieces to the development process which I wanted to talk to you about, and that is the adoption of the IBC 2012 codes. We are currently accepting plans under the 2012 codes. However, we're going to formally adopt them over the course of the next 6 months, and we've already paid for the e-codes books, and so our guys are up to speed and they're training on them today, and then we'll be accepting plans in July officially. We'll bring that IBC adoption forward to you here in May for your consideration. The one-stop shop principle, this is really an attempt to take the development services process and turn it inside out. We want to know what the needs of business are, and we want to be answering those needs. Be flexible, be nimble, be adaptive to what the process is. And so we're working very closely with Deputy City Manager Bob Beckley, the engineering team, and all of our development services team to create a true one-stop shop. One application, one place to drop off plans, one set of answers from the team that is reviewing your plan and your project. That is our goal, and a big piece of that, again, is communicating what that looks like to the development community. We're working on some videos. It was suggested that YouTube is a source to do that these days, so we're figuring out that technology. We're also working on streamlining the application process and cross-training our front desk team. So while the front desk team was somewhat cross-trained over the years, we have a bunch of people who know engineering just a little bit better, or some who know the business licensing process a little bit better. We want them all to know the process down to the answer so they can help someone one-on-one each day, day in and day out. The pre-application process enhancement. So this is a crucial piece of what we do in our business. This is the first impression. Often clients come in and they don't know anything about the city of Goodyear. They don't know anything about our process. And I think one thing that we could probably make the biggest improvement on is this pre-application process. We would like to require the applicant to come in with all of their consultants in the initial meeting. We will have a pre-application checklist which is sent to them on confirmation of their meeting in advance of their being on site that will tell them the documents they need to bring in to review and those consultants which we'd like to see in advance. In addition to that, it's a contract. So we will be sure that we have all of our team present at the pre-application meeting. So there's a representative from fire, from code enforcement, from planning, and they get all of the answers that are reasonably possible in that first meeting. So the expectations are clear. And in addition to that, we're working on some additional brochures which would be able to show them on the very first day they come in, if you submit this date for your plan, this is your turnaround time, this is the P&Z schedule, so the Planning and Zoning Commission schedule, this is the Board of Adjustment schedule, and if you hit these dates, you can be into the City Council on the following date, and that will help people have absolute clarity as to the process and the timeline. So we're calling it the statistical report. I like to call it community at a glance. So we're working on a document that would allow us to say we have X number of parks and X number of miles of trails and 2 fantastic hospitals and X number of housing units and X number of jobs and so many subdivisions and all those good things that we're constantly rattling off. We want to have one source for that. So we're working on combining all those sources of data amongst the departments in the city and putting together one document that would be available on paper and electronically every year. That requires a bit of coordination, but we think it's well worthwhile, and it's something that helps the development community identify if we're a good fit right up front. The Design Guidelines Manual update. I think this is something that's near and dear to all of us. We've been wanting to do this over the course of the last year. We had the good fortune to put out an RFP, and Winter & Company out of Boulder, Colorado responded to our RFP. They've been on site already twice working with us, and we're moving very aggressively on this. Council will see this first on February 24th, and then it will be back for you with the Planning and Zoning Commission for a joint discussion again March 31st. Many of the elements that you all shared with us over the course of the last year have been identified in the early draft of concept that they want to address. Additionally, we've talked to many of the development community and held some forums with them to get their feedback on what they'd like to see in the design guidelines. So we hope that council will be receptive to this when we bring it back to you, and hopefully it will just be a bit of a tweaking in this initial stage, and if there's more that needs to go on beyond that, we'll come back at it again. But we're addressing things such as the sign ordinance changes and all of the site integration issues and many of the other concerns that you've raised to us to date. So next steps on the communications outreach, we're having our quarterly development forum meetings. Those have grown from about 15 folks when I first got here to over 45 folks usually now. So we have a nice cross-section of the multifamily, single-family developer, single user type coming in to hear about what's going on in the community. We're using that as an opportunity to bounce ideas off and also get the word out about the process improvements we're making. New brochures, as we've talked about, to cover the new processes so we're clear, not only in paper but online electronically, so we can just shoot it off and share our process. Development Services Department website notices, so as the entire city is undergoing a new website change, so is Development Services, and we're trying to make a clear, concise message on the website that also includes these brochures. The last piece is our pre-application meetings, as we've already talked about, being clear and concise with our customers when they come in initially.
Thank you. If you just stay up there, I'm sure the council has comments. Thank you. That was ambitious and exciting. So looking forward to those changes. So who would like to speak first? Councilman Stipp?
Can we ask questions?
Yes.
We can, okay.
No, you're all right. You can ask a question.
Yeah. Usually we get in trouble when we start asking questions at this point. Sherry, this is a great presentation, and really helps lay out the roadmap ahead. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? Can you go back one slide? Of all of these things and everything that we've got, how are we going to know whether it worked? What's going to be your
excellent question.
measure?
So one of our responsibilities under the strategic plan is to measure our success. So we are putting an online website response that's anonymous. So we'll be surveying clients as they come in and turn in their electronic plans with this survey of our customer service. And we'll be able to do that once we get the website live. So
Now, have you also built performance measures that get to some of these processes as well?
excellent question. Yes, we have. In fact, as a part of our performance measures effort citywide, we've identified, I can't even remember how many we have for our department.
That's all right.
But it's over 400 performance measures that get to turnaround times and permit review times and customer satisfaction and all of the things that we've talked about this evening. So council will have metrics to balance this against.
Perfect. Thanks, and thanks for all your effort, and to your staff for their flexibility and as change goes on. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Councilman Osborne?
Well, thank you very much, Sherry. I'm very excited about all these changes. I would like, if you could send this presentation to us, I would love to be able to see this and have this to look at for the future. But also, you know, the information you said about statistics. You know, it's very important, obviously, for a company that wants to locate here and they want to see what the city has. But also, this is a tool that company can use if they're needing to get financing, because that paints the picture and the sales to the bank to get the money. And so those are important things that we don't always think about that is going to be beneficial to them also. So I'm excited about everything you have covered, and please send it to us. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Councilman Loretano?
I just want to say it looks like you're going to have a very busy 2014, and I'm very impressed in such a short time how you've brought everything together, and thank your staff, because that was one thing I think we continuously got knocked on by the public and surveys was being business friendly, and I'm glad you all are working together in your under your leadership, taking those steps to update us, make us business friendly, and make us into the future with technology. So I look forward to seeing as it progresses, with especially all the technology you're implementing. Thank you.
Councilman Campbell?
Oh, I have two questions and then a comment, if I may. You're adopting the 2012 international codes.
Building codes, correct.
It's because that's the latest edition, right?
It is.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, because I've talked about how us using old codes for so long, and there was never money in the budget to buy the new codes and to train everyone. So I do appreciate that, because that's what the development company wants, or the community wants us to do, is to use the latest codes, because they're coming in with their plans and drawings using that very thing. So thank you for that. The next question that I have for you is regarding inspections. And you may have addressed it when you were talking of how you've streamlined everything. And something I worry about all the time is how quickly we're inspecting these buildings so that the developer or the contractor can continue to finish that building and to be up and running, because every delay we give them is money out of their pocket. And I haven't had any really complaints, but I've been reading a lot about how a lot of towns are trying to address that very thing. And GPEC is really big on that, Mayor, about cities being able to get these companies up and running as quickly as they can, because it's their bottom line. So how are inspections being handled?
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. That's an excellent question. In fact, I skipped a part of my presentation which talks about inspections, and we have implemented several improvements on inspections. For example, the fire alarm verification permit can be issued in the field today, which was a big deal. It also streamlined that process by about 5 days. Permits in the field for minor fire sprinkler modifications as well can be done in the field. And then also the inspection scheduling information has been added to the inspection card itself, so that there's not two pieces of paper, so the applicant can just look and call and get their inspection time right on their card that day. Big improvement. And then the other one is the special events permit process, which I didn't talk about, but the special events process used to take, again, a stop at City Hall to pay your fee, a stop with our fire group to go through your plans, and then a stop at DSD to file your permit, and then wait for the approval. All that's been consolidated into a one-stop shop right across the counter in most cases at the Development Services counter. We've also hired an inspection supervisor this past year. We took a gentleman from another community here locally that had an excellent reputation and is extremely well trained, and he is reducing turnaround times of inspections in the field, as well as today we were in a scenario where we had quite a bit of overtime because we were so small staffed from the recession and so forth. We are reducing overtime and reducing turnaround times on inspections, so message received.
Okay, and in the last comment that I have, I know you said you're working on your own web page, your new web page.
Yes.
And then we'll have a city web page. Can we have a link so that if someone doesn't know to go to your department, they can go to the city main website, and there's a link that tells them opening a business, click, and there you are with everything you have.
Excellent. That's music to our ears. I think we know some people that can help us make that happen.
Perfect. Thank you. And it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Joe, Councilman Pizzillo,
Hey, hello,
Vice
Sherry.
Mayor Pizzillo.
Hello, Sherry. I appreciate the focus on the customer and the streamlining process, but it was an eye-opener on one of the issues we had been working over for a while. And I like the fact that you're surveying the customers, but one of my concern is as a result of my eye-opening experience dealing with one of the owners is,
Yes.
When you talk to them and they may have a kind of sour taste on dealing with the city, but the problem may be is that they're architects, the problem, but they don't know that. And we had this discussion is whether if plans get back or if there's any redlining or any of the case that the owner of the property is also notified, because they may not get the entire picture of what's going on. So they tell other owners or other small businesses that, the city's not very personable to work with, where in essence it was their architect possibly or whatever. So I think it's important when you get your survey and you get your stats that somehow the owner, when there are issues, gets notified so he's not assuming, and you know which case I'm talking about, where this individual thought everything was fine, but in essence the architect was notified 2 weeks earlier. He couldn't understand why things were being hung up. So, and they may blame the city, but I think it's important to make sure the owner's in the loop. And I don't know how you do it, but I think that's very important because they're the ones that are out talking and spreading the word of how their relationship or how their actual interaction was with the city. So, and I know we've had that discussion, but I think that's also important. credit cards. What kind of deal do we cut? What's the percentage we got?
So I'll have to defer to our finance director on that. But we had at the beginning of this year set aside a fund to cover any credit card fees that might be associated with the credit card
That's my second
transactions.
question. Okay.
So,
So you're budgeted. You've got
correct,
that
we're
covered.
budgeted. I did want to comment, if I might, on your
Okay, sure.
owner issue, and I think it's very important and duly noted that we will survey the owner, which is something that I think we have not done in the past. But most importantly, the new pre-application checklist will have owner information that we're capturing to notify them of the process and steps along the way. So that's a very important change.
And I appreciate that. I think that's going to save us a lot of headaches down the road by capturing that data. Last but not least, the small business advocate. I know you're looking to hire that now. Do you have any timeline of when you think you may have that? And the second part of that question is the role. Do you look at expanding that role of what it's been in the past, or what the duties of that particular person will be?
Vice Mayor Pizzillo, excellent question. So we hope to be on the street tomorrow, no pressure on HR, to get the small business advocate position hired immediately. And I think your point is right on. We saw the need to elevate this role here in the community and with our team. And so consequently, we did reevaluate the position and the responsibilities with human resources, and it will be on par with our other economic development project managers. And so we added a large sequence of duties to that responsibility beyond that which was created initially.
Will be part of it more outreach to the small business community so we can grab any of their issues ahead of time before it gets to the point where they're moving on?
That is our primary objective. And, in the past we'd done our business retention and expansion in a bit of a seasonal, 3-month activity. I would like this to be a year-round continuous outreach.
Great. I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Okay, my concern is, are we going to hire enough people in the development community to help you meet all this criteria you've given us today? And the business retention, I think it looks very difficult for one person to be able to handle that, because what we lacked before was actual physically going out to the companies and talking to them, keeping track of what's going on, not just registering and getting the registration papers through for the business owner. So that's a concern. So I'm saying, I think if you need another person, then I'm going to go to bat with this council and the city manager to get it for you, because we want this to work, and it hasn't in the past. Just hasn't been done. So I think all of us agree that. Did I miss you, Sherilyn? Well, I'm going to talk first since I'm here, and then I'm going to pass it on to Sherilyn. Sherilyn, I apologize. Not a problem. So you don't mind if I continue with this? All right, thank you. I just want to make sure that, what you've put up today, that we have the staff to make it work, because we've been recovering from the downturn, and we've said we're not going to add staff, we're not going to add staff. But we got to get realistic here. If this is going to happen, in my view, it looks like we're going to have to add some staff. So that was one of my first comments. The other thing, I agree with Joe. I think that through the years, since 2005, I have found that the architect is the one that has slowed things up. By the problem with architects, it's conceptual, and they draw all these beautiful things, and actually on site it doesn't work, and they blame the city. So I just want to make sure that's made very clear with the customer. The same thing with when Mr. Jones comes in, he's going to add an extension to his garage. He's going to look for a contractor. I have found, especially when I was working on a board at the Pebble Creek, that contractors sometimes fib. And so they say, again, city. And every time I went to the city to check it out, it wasn't the city, it was a contractor. So I want to make that clear with contractors also, with the small improvements people do on their homes. And then thirdly, I want to say that I've been on this council since 2005, probably longer than anybody. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, some of these very same things that are in here are things we talked about back then. Mm-hmm. And I want to give a shout out to our city manager, because this is the first city manager we've had that actually took it and did something with it. Didn't just talk about it, was actually putting it in works. And I appreciate that. So I want people to know the credit. It's the staff that does the work, and it's where the hard part of it is that all the new things staff is adopting. we have thrown so much at them this year. This is just another thing they've got to contend with. So it's not easy, and I appreciate it. So I just want that to be known. And now I spoke out of turn, and Sherilyn Holman, Councilman Holman, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Sherry, I too think that this is an absolutely amazing step forward. And I know we talked very early on when you came to town, so to speak, that this was going to be a priority for you. And I thank Brian for your support because it has been a very long time coming. And it's going to take a period of time to show the development community and large business, and particularly small businesses, that we're very sincere in this outline and these efforts. And we may not get it right the first time, but we're willing to work with them. It can't be overestimated what that will do to improve the success of our small business. They need to be working forward, not fighting unnecessarily challenges. So I thank you for that, and I appreciate you keeping track of what the feedback is, because that's how we can make it even better. Alleluia, and thank you.
Yeah, and go along with that feedback. It's a good point. I think the council, and of course you normally do, but I think it's up to us to be telling staff, giving them the feedback we get on the streets, because we get it all places. So we need to be sure that we're reporting it to them so we can improve. So Sherry, great presentation. Good job. I'm looking forward to see what your team, yes, City Manager.
Mayor and Council, thank you very much for the comments and congratulations. I would just ask Sherry, she has other members of her team that are in the audience, if you could point them out, because as Sherry pointed out, it's been a huge team effort, so I think that would be
Thank you,
good.
Brian. That would be wonderful. I'd like to do that. So Ed Kulik, our Building Safety Director. Ed, if you want to give everyone. Joe Schmitz, our Planning Manager.
So we can give you stay standing, Mr. Cook. Yeah, okay.
Hector Tapia, our Deputy Director of Development Services.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, now is the time for a citizen who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda item. Do we have any cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. Are there any speaker cards at all? Anybody from the audience? All right, we'll go on that. So what we're going to do now is go to the consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items 6.1 and 6.2 by title only, please?
Item 6.1, approve draft minutes from a regular meeting held on January 13th, 2014, and a special meeting and a regular meeting held on January 27th, 2014. Item 6.2, approve the issuance of a 2-year lease with 3 additional optional 1-year terms for the AZ Pro Track BMX Park located south of MC 85 and west of Estrella Parkway.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Does anyone from the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can ask a question. Go ahead. Councilman Campbell has a question.
I have a question for 6.2. The BMX park lease. I have 2 questions. Number one, were the documents that were not filed now filed and they're now current and they're okay to move forward with this?
Councilmember Campbell, yes, they have. We have a certificate of good standing at this point with from the Corporation Commission, and the lease has been signed by the appropriate party. So that's why we're bringing this back to you. We had taken it off the prior council meeting.
And how long does this certificate of good standing last?
It lasts as long as the corporation's actually in good standing. Typically what we'll throw it out is not reporting their annual reports and items like that. So typically it's going to be good for at least a year.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Are you satisfied?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank
okay.
you.
All right, thank you. So could I have a motion, a second, for to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Campbell and a second by Councilman Stipp. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Councilmember Homan?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
All right, great. We're going to go to the business. So the first item is an application, which is 7.1, for a new series, 12 liquor license for Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar. Deputy City Clerk Sue Brumgart to present. Sue? You're getting good at this. You've had a couple of presentations now. You're getting to be an old head at this,
Liquor
huh?
license presentations. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm here to present an application for a Series 12 liquor license for Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar. This is fairly straightforward. Applebee's was recently acquired by RMH Franchise Corporation as part of a mass franchise purchase from Thomas & King Incorporated, involving 80 Applebee's restaurants in Kentucky and Arizona. This restaurant is located at 13832 West McDowell Road, which is located just east of the northeast corner of McDowell and Litchfield Roads. Arizona liquor law requires establishments that sell liquor to obtain a state license when ownership changes. Applebee's is currently operating under the interim permit, which was obtained by the previous owner, Thomas & King, on June 27, 2000. Amy Schroff is here tonight representing the applicant, and she will be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Great,
That's the
thank
end
you.
of my presentation.
Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would she like to get up and speak? It's certainly okay if she wanted to do that this time.
No, she's good.
Okay, she's good. All right. So nobody from the audience wants to speak then. Can I have a motion, a second, to approve the request from Andrea D. Lukowitz, agent, applicant for RMH Franchise Corporation, doing business as Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar for a series of 12 liquor license located at 13832 West McDowell Road, Goodyear, Arizona. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Holman and a second from Councilman Stipp. Open for council discussion. Councilman Stipp?
So I just got more of a procedural question. How do we issue an interim permit that lasts almost 14 years?
It's not
Kinda
a-
like the-
No, the previous franchise owner had the liquor license, and when they apply, the new owner applies, they can elect to continue operating the business under an interim permit temporarily until this one is granted.
Okay, but I guess my question is, if we issued an interim permit, which is theoretically temporary,
We didn't issue it. That's done through the state.
through the state,
State application process.
okay, and it's not unusual to have an quote-unquote interim permit that lasts for this long?
It's
Yeah,
done
this is my
through the
first time hearing
application
that.
process. It just allows the new owner to continue selling alcohol until this one is granted.
Okay, that was just my gee whiz question. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Loretano.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp.
Aye.
Councilmember Homan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne.
Aye.
Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Great, thank you. So let's go to the second item, 7.2 on the business, is to authorize the insurance and the sale of the general obligation refunding bonds. Series 2014, Finance Director Larry Lang will present. Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 14-1595 authorizes the issue of refunding bonds, and refunding bonds are basically used to refinance existing debt. I'm going to go through a little bit of what we have before you, but before I forget, I want to introduce our finance team that's here. And so if you play Stump the Finance Director, I want you to know who's out there that's got my back. Starting this side, and I know we hid kind of behind the poster where you can't see everyone, but Larry Given from Wedbush Securities is our financial advisor. Scott Ruby from Gust Rosenfeld, Sarah Smith from Gust Rosenfeld, and Kim McIntyre from Gust Rosenfeld. They represent our bond counsel. And Anna Dezak from the finance office has done most of the work representing the finance department. And they're the ones that have kind of put all of this together and then said, Larry, you can talk about it.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
The purpose of these bonds are to refund certain maturities of the 2005 GO bonds that we issued. The original bonds were issued in the amount of $29,260,000. Approximately $9 million of that original went for water improvements and $20 million for wastewater system improvements. So I have to apologize for a statement that I made in the COAC that talked about property tax savings. That's true in normal GO refundings, but these bonds, the debt service is being paid for by the enterprise funds. And so the savings will go to the enterprise funds, not to the property taxes. With that, I have created a complication that they normally don't have on these, and that is that when it's going to the enterprise funds, I am trying to have the gain that we receive on this spread out over the years instead of all up front, so that it can actually be included in our rate study as an annual savings, whereas if it's a one-time savings, it's money we could spend but wouldn't really benefit the ratepayers directly in that calculation. Under Arizona state law, and also the second thing that I had in there that compliance tends to complicate this is that we're asking that these bonds be underwritten through a competitive bid process. Normally on a refunding bond, it's done on a negotiated basis, but I want to make sure we're getting the lowest interest rate we can, and that happens through a competitive bid process often, and so we're doing that. In doing those two items together, that complicates the transaction mainly for Arizona state law purposes, and I won't get into the details unless you really are curious, but it does complicate it, but with this team that we have, they've been able to work around all of that and will continue. So a few of the details of this, $15.9 million approximately. A rate not to exceed 5%. I can assure you that if the overall rate averaged 5%, we won't do the deal because we wouldn't make money on it. But we had to put in a cap in there because the resolution is giving me a lot of authority. Well, these are parameters, and there are a number of parameters we're putting in on that authority, and I'll go over some of them, one being the 5% for any coupon in there. The maximum maturity not to exceed July 1 of 2020. We aren't trying to refinance to extend debt. We're trying to take advantage of lower interest rates. And so we're not going out further with the principal than where it is today. In the COAC, we outlined that the refunding is expected to save us $700,000 over the next 7 years. That number can and will change. Current estimates are closer to $900,000. It's actually gone to our advantage. But there's also a floor on that built into the resolution that if our present value savings is no more than 3% of the amount of bonds that we're issuing, then we won't do the deal. So that's another of the parameters that you're giving me in this resolution. So the minimum savings on this bare minimum would be approximately $500,000. The pricing on this will take place a little bit less than a month, or in about a month, and so that's why there has to be flexibility built in so that we can award the bids and get the transaction to happen, moving forward within the parameters that you give us. The most recent analysis that we did actually has an average net interest rate of just under 2%. So that's why we're able to realize a savings on this. But as I indicated, that the rates are subject to change as we go through. So with that, I think I've summarized the transaction. I think most of my notes are covered here. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak? Okay. Will the city clerk please read the resolution 14-1595 by title only, please?
Adopt Resolution 14-1595 authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Goodyear, Arizona General Obligation Refunding Bonds, Series 2014, delegating the authority to approve certain matters with respect to the bonds, and the bonds being refunded, providing for the annual levy of a tax for the payment of the bonds, appointing a registrar and paying agent for the bonds, authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of the bonds, improving the form of certain documents and authorizing completion, execution, and delivery thereof, delegating the authority to approve and deem final a form of official statement, ratifying all actions taken and to be taken with respect to the bonds in furtherance of the resolution.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Campbell and a second by Vice Mayor Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Well, I can't believe that. Joe?
No, I'm just going to say, in your presentation, you answered all my questions, so I don't have any.
Councilman Stipp?
I don't have any questions, Larry. There are a couple of things that, for me, that were important that you covered, during the presentation. I just want to reiterate for everybody is the fact that we are not extending the term of these bonds. I think is really important. Sticks to previous strategies that we've talked about for the last few years, which I think is very important. And the other is is our ability to try to calculate these returns into the rate study so that we can truly take these savings and give them back to the utility users. That I think that may sometimes get overlooked in our attempt to take advantage of the better rates in the bond market. So thanks for pointing those out in the presentation, and again for the work that you and the gang from the bond council team in the back over there as they go through it. Thanks.
Councilman Osborne?
I more or less just want to echo what Bill was saying, but thank you for being cautious and really looking at the big picture, because some of those things you may not have thought of, and the rate study was a great one. And also that you didn't lengthen the time of the loan. I appreciate that, but really, go forth and save us money. That's the best thing to say.
Any others? Yes, Councilman Campbell.
Larry, what is our current interest rate now?
I've got it here, I know.
Sorry.
Or, no, I think I know. Yeah, Larry, do you happen to have what the
rate's about 3 3/4
Yeah, okay.
3.8%.
Awesome.
But the bonds were refinancing.
Yeah, the bonds refinancing, just for the benefit at home, our financial advisor indicated about 3 3/4%. So about 3.8%. We're refinancing those with about 2%.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Mm-mm. Okay. So when would they close on this? It's like buying a house. You got to close
Right.
a certain time when the interest rates.
Actually,
how
that's
you
one
work
of
it in
the
the bond market.
That's one of the technicalities. I get to speak on one. I'm happy. It's going to close in April. April 3rd is the target date. And the reason for that is this is what's called a current refunding. We don't have to create an escrow. We'll be able to call the bonds and pay them right out of that in that time frame.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you.
So could I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Councilmember Homan?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go into the information just like a regular meeting, okay, and the reports and so forth. And then, following this, we'll have another special meeting, and we will give time for a break, okay, so that for those that need it. So let's go on. Does council have any comments or accommodations or reports on current events?
I have one.
Yeah, Councilman Osborne?
I just thought you might appreciate the speaker that I got to hear from and meet, actually, and that was former President Clinton. I met him last week and had the chance to listened to him speak. And Republican or Democrat, you know, he was our president, and there was some worldly advice that he gave that was interesting. He said that something that he would like to share with Chelsea would be that get caught trying. Get caught trying to make a difference. Get caught trying to make an impact. Get caught trying. Something else he felt was that
you got me worried there for a moment.
And something else that he said was he felt the best leaders of our future are the ones that collaborate and cooperate. But something else that I thought was interesting was he made the comment that he felt that the most rapid growth in industry will be manufacturing. And he said that we should be concentrating our manufacturing with Mexico instead of China because the components in Mexico are 40% American instead of only 4% in China. So I thought that was a pretty interesting bit of information. So I just thought I would share it with you because it was really quite fascinating, the whole experience.
He's right on what GPEC is doing, concentrating on Mexico. And, of course, we already know the exporting, importing, that's a lot of dollars into that. It's always somewhat tedious, the fact that we haven't come to terms with an immigration policy. But even through that, I think that the governments are looking at definitely trade between the two countries is very important. I thank you for sharing that special information. You had me worried there for a minute.
Oh, it was funny when he said it. Yeah,
I guess
the whole audience was like, "What?"
Yeah, you have to take chances in the world sometimes, and that's all. Next person who wants to Councilman Stipp.
What? We're going over what we did.
Yes,
The
yes.
last guy,
You can,
okay.
This is your moment.
Oh, this is my moment.
I'd sing "This Is Your Moment" to you, but it wouldn't go off.
I get 2 or 3 of these a night, so this is good. Anyway, we all attended the Loma Linda Park, which I'm not going to go into great detail. I'll leave that to Councilmember Holman. But it was awesome to see the number of kids that were utilizing the park in what sometimes is a lost neighborhood. And that was really very very exciting. And I noticed today that an article that Mike Sakel did made it into the Arizona Republic today, kind of talking about that. So that was it was pretty exciting. But to not only have the discussion with residents who live there, but also the guys from the Parks Department that take care of that. That's their park to take care of, and how much pride they have in it was really very astounding. And I should not have been surprised, but it was really encouraging to hear them talk about that. And then the other thing is we had, as the chair of the Public Safety Retirement System, we had a couple of meetings last week, actually to review the current financial position of both the police and fire pensions here in the city, which are very healthy. We're in the target range that we should be for our local contributions to the greater pension system. I know there's a lot of things that are read about in the paper, and we hear a lot of things about what's going on in the public safety pension and the state pension system for that matter. But the local system that we have some control over, the parts that we do control, we're in really good shape.
Good.
And it's lost in the CAFR that we get every year, the statements of the two funds, and it was important for us, I think, as a city, to have Larry Lang come in and actually talk to the boards and let them know where they're at and how it's calculated, and that was very well received. And it's the first time I think it's been done ever to have him come and do that. So Larry, I really appreciated that. But we're in good shape. We've got policies in place to prevent some of the issues that are very frequently talked about today regarding pension spiking. We've got procedures in place here in the city that prohibit that. So
that sounds like an article.
Yeah, it sure does.
Sounds. Maybe some information we need to get the public, because I'm always running in after I read the paper, Arizona Republic, about Phoenix, and I'm running into the deputy city manager saying, "Wynette, what is this? Are we in this?" So it's very alarming because you you read such, very difficult articles about, and they're not good. And so let's tell the public how we're doing in Goodyear. So.
Okay, that's
All right.
what I got.
Thank you, Sherry. Laura Tano.
One thing I attended the Buckeyes Airfair, and they also had a science and technology with going on with regard to that. I know we're going to do that with the Tale of Two Cities coming up, so I really do appreciate that. And when you talk about articles in the paper, I think we have to get the good news out about how well our city is managed and our budget, and that our city manager gives us the facts throughout the budget process, because I just read an article about what's happening in Phoenix when you just said that about the pensions and their budget, and we're sitting here the last couple years actually being able to make good choices because your staff has given us good information throughout, so thank you.
And I'll plead to the news media. I see Avondale, I see a lot of the other cities in there, and we're having so many good things in our city happening, and somehow they just get passed over, so I don't quite know what we're not doing correctly to get them touted, to get them in the papers. So I'm pleading to our newspapers that they ought to talk about Goodyear a little bit more. Okay, on this side, Councilman Campo?
Well, I'm sure the mayor will touch on this too, but Saturday was the Heart and Soul 5K walk and run, and I was a participant. It was a lot of fun. But I really want to thank West Valley Hospital and the absolutely fantastic park and recreation staff and the ballpark staff who every year go out of their way to make this run work. It's just amazing. We had a larger crowd this year than we had last year. We had over 150 people that registered the day of the race. And that alone was just amazing. But it was just a wonderful gathering of our community. And I loved seeing all of the city employees there wearing their wonderful Team Goodyear shirts so that we were all walking together to stay healthy. I didn't do the 5K, but I did what I was supposed to do. So, but anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for that. And if you didn't participate this year, think about it next year. They do it every February for Heart Month. And today I attended my first board meeting of the Board of Examiners of Nursing Care Institution Administrators and Assisted Living Facility Managers as the public member. And it's quite an eye-opening to me, and I'm very happy to know that we have an agency that licenses and monitors assisted living managers and long-term care facility managers as well, to see that they're compliant with the law, because we want to take care of all of our vulnerable adults. And I forgot what else I did this weekend, but we were busy.
Yeah. Councilman Holman?
I believe one of the things is you had a birthday.
Oh, yes, I did.
Happy birthday,
Thank
Wally.
you. Thank you very much. I forgot about that.
And she swears she doesn't feel a day older. I just want to mention a couple of things. One of the things I want to thank Chief Geyer. I had expressed to him that I knew that the police were using a lot of creativity and a whole lot of ingenuity to make the facilities that they're currently in for their daily operations. And from my talk would be the old City Hall and the old police station, because that's what it was to me in 1980. And your guys are really good, Chief. And I think we don't possibly appreciate them as much as we should, because I just can't wait for the day when we can move to the step of planning the new and know what we want in the new and then actually mushroom that sucker out of the ground. But I just wanted to compliment the police officers and leaders that we have to make as classy of operation as you can with what you have. You do good. And then the other thing I wanted to say, I wanted to thank all of the city council members. This is the third city park that we've upgraded in the older section of Goodyear. We did Palmetier Park, we did Park La Paz, and now Loma Linda. And the neighborhoods, each and every one of them, have been so appreciative. And if you're driving around the city and you have a chance to look at how much those parks are appreciated, it is just brings joy to the heart. Parents are out there with their kids, grandparents are out there with their kids, and I just think it's a joy to see. And I am so glad that the decision was made to give some TLC to those older parks in our community. A job where I was not part of that decision. I was a recipient as I live in the older section of Goodyear, but I say kudos, kudos, kudos to those of you who were in on that process, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, the playground equipment was so much fun. Adults can get on it.
Oh, if that wasn't a sight.
They have a slide that's for reducing your rear end and your thighs. I mean, it's got a rotator as you go down that slide. So you may see some of us sneaking over there in the dark, getting on that.
Teeter-totter.
Yes. Yeah, it's great. You got it. I just recommend you to go visit that park. I just want to add one thing about the Heart and Soul, because they had to close the registration online. So what happened? People came anyway and lined up outside. They had over 500 people in this.
It was huge.
So it was a recognition to me that really the message is out about good health, whether you walk or whether you run, and to be outside. So kudos to the hospital, because, I mean, they were taken back about how many people were there. They didn't expect it. But yet the Parks Department and them gave service to the people. We thought they thought they're going to run out of T-shirts and run out, but they satisfied everybody. The race was late to start, and that's okay. So they could include everybody in it. And then I tried to get out of the park because I'm like you. I'm not so healthy. I didn't decide to go on it. So I got stuck, and I couldn't get across the road. Finally, the police came to my aid, and they got me across the road. But it was kind of great that I had to sit there, because I watched all the different types of, you know, you had a child in hand, you had them in the, in the strollers, you had them on your shoulders, I mean, all ages.
And the dogs.
All size, the dog, yeah, everything. And so it was really a great feeling. I got to see Goodyear at its best. So thank you on that. Okay, so now we're next to the city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, a couple of things. One is as a follow-up, we'll look at opportunities to promote the health of the PSPRS public safety pension as we have an opportunity. So we'll look at where we might be able to do that in the future. A couple of things, and I'm very pleased to hear Councilmember Campbell and also you, Mayor, talking about the Heart and Soul. It was, I guess, a real challenge the day of the race, but I did want to point out a couple of other facts on top of it, just to show the enormity of what really happened. We actually had over 550 participants in the 1 mile or the 5K. You compare that to last year, we had 212. So it's over double of what we had last year. And again, it was many that were there for the day of the race that were registering. Overall attendance, counting all the supporters on the sidelines, 750. So great turnout. We had 100 City of Goodyear employees and family members participate, so it truly was something that our own got involved in. And then last thing to that point, the vendors, we actually had 19, which was 15 more than last year. We had 4 last year. We had 19 this year. Those are the sponsors or the vendors that really show up to help support the race, through what they have to offer. So again, appreciate the comments from council.
Add while you're talking about that, and okay, somebody's going to help me. What is the little girl's name that did the national anthem? She's the one that saved us that day at that event.
Do you know anyone know what her name is, Nathan?
Rob, do you remember her name? Oh, Rob, I'm just about. Does somebody have her name? Oh,
we will find
All
it.
right, next time we have to say it. She sang a rendition of it this time, totally different than before, a cappella. That was like unbelievable. I'm sorry, I don't know if we can get her at opening day now. It was outstanding, and she is going to go to music school. She's working on getting scholarships, and she wants to be an opera singer. So I will tell you, that's exactly the tone in which she sang our national anthem. It should have been recorded. She could make money off of it. It was wonderful. So I just want to, we'll get her name.
Yeah, Mayor, if we can't have her for opening day, can we have her sometime during spring
I'm sure
training?
that-
Because
I'm
she's
sure the Rex
phenomenal.
got her
We,
sometime, but-
she's
we will work on that. And the first time we had her was actually impromptu, if you remember.
Yes, it was. It was on
She just
opening
showed
day.
up because we were desperate because the sound system wasn't working.
It was like an angel,
Mm-hmm.
all right? It was something else. So go ahead.
Last item I had is, and I don't think Bruce is still here from the ballpark, but one of the things I wanted to point out is we are very proud of the staff that we have here, and we hear that, and very much appreciate Mayor and Council's comments that support that. One is just wanted to give at a girl, I guess, if that's a right term, or at a lady. But on Friday, our ballpark business development coordinator, Tanika Smith, we gave her a big, hairy goal of trying to reach $400,000 in sponsorships for spring training. This is outside of the other events that we have that go on throughout the year. But the goal, it was for the first time in our 6-year history, we secured 3 more sponsors, but it actually brought our revenue from sponsorships this season $401,189. Now, she said she's not done. She takes us all the way through the end of spring training. But I have to tell you, last year it was $359,000 that she was responsible for bringing in. Again, over $400,000 and still counting. So of that 47 current sponsors, 18 are new. So generated again by Ms. Smith, and 29 are returning. But the other part of it is they're spending 19% more this year. Each of on average, the sponsors are than they did last year. So excited about that. If you see her, please congratulate her. She is working very hard. But thought that was great news to pass along as well. Mayor and Council, that's all I have tonight.
Okay, fine. I guess that's it. So what we can do, let's see, I'll make the announcement here that the next meeting is a work session, a regular meeting, and a special meeting. We have a lot of special meetings lately, don't we? On February 24th, beginning at 5 o'clock. And then the next time you will meet, it will be March 3rd of 14. It will be a work session.